Keep your enemies real close.
Yeah, exactly. Know your enemy, you know. Know exactly.
Go work for them.
Yeah, don't work for them, yeah. Just know what your enemies do.
Hang on, he's saying go and work for them, you're hearing don't work. He's saying go and work for
They're
them.
saying keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, if you want to go and infiltrate and
Do as the Romans do, right?
Yeah, good one day.
Anyway.
Suit and tie for you. Suit and tie, come on.
I've got plenty of them.
First day cool. He's very aware, because she's given me the information, that is it about 1 million insurgents came from the KGB information distortion scheme and infiltrated Western society, and they've done it so successfully. That's one of the reasons why our Western societies have gone down the tube in a lot of ways.
Go tell me about that later because I couldn't hear it. Something, KGB something?
Oh, well, we are communist, it's very clear. Paul has discovered that by himself, him coming from communist countries.
I believe it's called the FSB now, Federal Security Bureau. Different name, same friends.
There's been a decades-long attempt by the Russian government to infiltrate Western societies to turn them into communist societies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are interviews online where there's KGB agents or FSB, but former agents.
No, they didn't do it so much through agents, they did it through students.
Yeah, but that's one of the ways of doing it. They've influenced institutions of higher education. That's why we've got the sorts of silliness going on that we do at the moment.
Okay, back to Nick.
Alright, all these pricks in the secret societies formed this legal system, right? And it's the biggest scam of all time, and that's, you know, what's made up this pyramid where governments are taking control over people who've gone to sleep, they become ignorant, you know, and then they've got police under their command, you know, and then under here you've got legal persons, slaves, is the direct translation, right? Or if you hear the word citizen, or taxpayer, or resident, or any of that crazy nonsense, all that legalese terminology, slaves. So we hear everyone talking babble every day, that's the English language, babble, right? And everyone says this silly ass word all the time. Now I never used to know this, but when I found out, I erased this word out of my vocabulary unless I'm demonstrating what it really means.
Yeah.
So this word person here, it's not what we've always been programmed to believe it means. Like we always thought it means a man, woman, boy, girl, whatever. But really, the language has been corrupted, you know, since man was created, and these bastards came in and ruined everything, right? And the word person, you go back to etymology and look up the original definition of that word. It comes from Latin or something, I think. The word person is actually...
means a mask that we wear.
Yeah, you're a false face, you're an assumed character in a particular society. It's, you know, it's all theatre, right?
Because it relates to the English word persona, to put on a persona, right?
Yeah, I think it goes back to Latin, but there's an etymology website where, you know, it doesn't give you the meaning of words like dictionaries do, because that's all a manipulated sense of, you know, how the words are being twisted and manipulated over time. The language is very corrupt now. So the word person really means, as you said, a false face, a mask, an assumed character in a play or a society. So you'll notice all the statutes, acts, codes, legislations, they're not laws. What do you think they come up with these words, right? They refer to persons or citizens. They don't say man. In fact, you look at a legal dictionary, you're not going to find the word man or woman anywhere in the legal dictionary because they have different words and definitions, right? So man's the creator and they cannot define their creator. It's just like we cannot define our creator, you know. We don't know exactly who or what God is, you know. It's a very spiritual thing and, you know, it takes a lot of, you know, time to figure that out. But anyway, so, yeah, you don't want to be a person. You don't even want to use that word anymore because You know, we've been indoctrinated every day when everyone just mentions that word. And then all of a sudden we think we're bound by all this because we think we're a person. We think everyone's a person. Yes, Danny?
You can't define God, how do you define person?
Well,
Because person's a construct.
Yeah.
So
These-
so
yeah,
he's
construct.
defined.
These-
It's
these
in a
are
di-
different.
that is in a legal dictionary because we looked it up the other day.
what
Black-
person?
Yeah,
Black's law.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. The word person, yeah.
But man, yeah,
Man's
we
not
haven't
there.
looked up that one yet. So
Yeah,
we'll
man's
have a look.
not in the legal dictionary.
Looking at it now.
Okay, if anyone's interested, a legal and historical researcher mate of mine, A.J. Reid, in WA, sent on his page this massive document about the history of persons. It's on my phone somewhere, I can send it to you on Messenger. Well worth reading.
Yeah. And I suppose we'll talk about the word from etymology too.
Oh yeah, he discusses all that. Yep.
What I liked about what you were talking about when we first talked was how man is above, men and women are above the creation of man, of what men and women have created, what mankind has created,
Yeah.
humankind should I say.
Yeah.
And the creator is above us, so that's what we've got to listen to, right? Rather than being manipulated by the creations to connect with the creator.
Right. Right, that's right. So,
What if the
We can
Creator is
never-
within us? Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah.
That part of the Creator is within us.
Yeah,
right, this. All right, so this is, as Thomas said, like man has created all this nonsense. A lot of good things as well, you know, but all this nonsense. So the creations of man always remain below man, period. And as you can see here, man is always below his creator or her creator. Right? So man's always below their creator, and the creations of man are always below man. This is a permanent pyramid structure, right? So man will always be at the top of the pyramid, and who we tend to call God is always above the pyramid, right? So this divine spiritual presence in the universe, we can't exactly define because we're not that intelligent. But all these bastards, they can't define man. Like we said, it's not in their dictionary, in their legal society. So, this is why this word is the most dangerous word of all, person. We've all got manipulated into using that word since the age of 2. And we thought it was normal. And admit, I was still thinking it was normal till a year ago. So, yeah. Anyways, so man stands in law, right? Everyone, no matter which man stands in any capacity in all this mess, they're all bound by the law of nature, law of gravity, as we call it anyway, law of physics, you know, and common law. And common law is common sense. It's very, very simple, which is just do the right thing by your fellow man, help your fellow man, don't cause harm to your fellow man, don't steal, you know, don't damage property. If you accidentally do, make sure you compensate them in some way. That's pretty much it. And, you know, if you see someone in trouble, you know, help them if you're able to. And, yeah, so all this stuff we hear about, these so-called new laws and all that, they're not laws at all. It's absolute bullshit.
Well,
Law
it's
has to be
funny,
something.
the
the
persona,
statutes.
persona, and what do they call statutes? They're in acts. It's
Yeah.
a puppet show.
Well, like Lauren said, it's all theatre.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called the Road Safety Act, because it's all acting, you know. And they created this person thing. They're relying on everyone's ignorance and stupidity to connect themselves to that artificial legal character with the all capital letter name. That's also referred to as this straw man, right? And unfortunately, everyone's been hoodwinked into it. There are very few people who have spent their whole life not sucked into it. Probably those remote communities, I suppose. But you know, more and more of us are waking up, and the fact is that we don't have freedom until we separate ourselves from this legal society and get back on top of the pyramid where we belong. You know, because he's on top of the pyramid, but you know, he's above the pyramid, we're on top of the pyramid. We can't fall for these tricks anymore, because our world's going to waste, and the people with it.
Just very quickly, there's another word which relates to the pyramid, and a word which is misunderstood, and that is to understand. And that is to stand under. So I've tried to remember to substitute for that word comprehend. If I'm wanting to say that I comprehend something, I'm going to use that word and not stand under or understand.
Yeah, that's a good habit too.
Mm.
So I've been making good habits by changing my vocabulary, and I also try not to use that word unless I do understand something, to stand under it. So,
Nick, can I toss something in to add to what Thorin said? I read just recently again on AJ Reid's page a treatise or discourse he put on about how if you as a man declare to a court that you do not understand, you are deemed to be not present.
not what?
Not
Not
present.
present.
Not
No,
present.
the person would be deemed to be not present.
Well,
Clearly,
Yeah.
you as
Yes.
a human
Nonsense of it.
are
Yes.
present.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm
Yes.
getting at is that there was a case on Monday, and some of us were at it, with Craig Foote. You know Craig Foote? Okay, I won't go into it, but he attempted to deal with charges that were brought into a Madge Court, Ringwood Bench Court. He attempted to deal with them by discussing with the magistrate how he was a man and he wasn't the person, and he said the entity you've described as the accused is here on the table.
Piece of paper.
And he put
Yep.
the birth certificate down.
And he said, I'm not obliged to, by constitutional law, to enjoin with the name.
Now, I don't want to go into the whole thing. But
You're not going to go into it, I'm just saying something.
yeah, but I'm pointing out that the magistrate dealt with it simply by saying, I'll completely disregard what you're saying and I'll adjourn the matter to a contested hearing. Now, there's a whole lot of
And he
interesting...
didn't object.
Sorry?
And he didn't object.
Yes, you got it. You got it.
He didn't object.
Yes, the last thing he said was, I do not consent, but he didn't say objection. Right, now, so magistrate tricked him into enjoining and adjourned it off to a contested hearing. So what's interesting is that this whole process can go askew in a flash of a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How? How can he go
You're
out?
in control as long as you know you're in control.
Well, this is a guy who's got quite a fair bit of experience. He's knocked out the chief magistrate in a court case in the Melbourne Madge Court in 2015, argued absolutely superbly and knocked out the case. And yet in this instance, and there were 8, 9 of us there, Danny was there, someone else was there.
You're talking about the one the other day.
Yeah, but you couldn't get to it.
Yeah, I was working.
I'll just explain. All the judge was interested in was whether he would say he was the name. Because he didn't, it was really simple. She just palmed it off to another court. If he does the same thing, nothing will come of it. It'll just get handballed until he's...
Jurisdiction, right? It's just hung up on jurisdiction. You do not have
They
jurisdiction
can't
on it
process it.
because
That's
I'm
what I
human,
saw. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm at the top
Well,
of the
until
pyramid.
you say certain things, until you do certain things, formal things, the cops can't. You've had some experience with this. The cops can't
Well,
process
Nazis.
it.
Yeah, sorry. Direct translation, Nazis for police.
One key is to say I object. That's a formal way of using something in court. And I might get you to talk one day about some of that stuff. If you're open to it. how to sort of use a few things in court. I object is one of them.
Is it I object or we object?
Yes.
So what were you saying can go as what?
Askew.
Yeah, why?
If you forget to say something.
Yeah, the simple act of Craig's not saying I object when the magistrate said I'll adjourn it to the Moorabbin Court, and he didn't say object. Technically, he enjoined, he accepted by acquiescence her orders.
Didn't you say that he said he didn't consent?
Sorry?
Didn't you say that he didn't consent?
Yeah, he did. But you see,
You have to say I object.
yeah, hang on.
No, that's their words, right? The whole thing
It doesn't
is
really
you're there
matter.
if you're accepting.
It doesn't really matter anyway. The fact is, she couldn't process him
Yeah.
and palmed him off. Now, he can choose to go to that court or not. It's really up to him.
So I was listening to something the other day, and he could just go and file a letter to the court saying, I object, and until this matter's resolved, then there's nothing to respond. And he would not have to appear. The only reason to go to court is because there's questions that need to be answered, and until the matter of jurisdiction is resolved, there's nothing to answer. So he should not need to turn up to a court ever again.
And you can do that also through a conditional appearance as well. And
Yeah,
put those
and-
questions.
This is the other mistake he clearly made, and this is a guy that knows
turned
all
up.
this. He did not serve to the court 3 days before a notice of conditional acceptance.
Conditional
And he
appearance.
Conditional appearance, sorry.
Yeah.
And he did not specify that he was there under the terms of a special appearance. In other words, he accepted that he was there under the terms of a common appearance. Bang, all his rights went out the window.
There's 2 cases in Tasmania that you know about, for it. And they happened last Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the one on Monday, I passed to them a notice of conditional appearance. The conditional appearance is that jurisdiction must be proved, and also a notice of objection. Right, 2 one-page forms.
Yeah, I got those.
Yeah, I sent them last week. I don't think they used them. And
Which
and
is
he's told
crazy.
He's told me that in the court, in the magistrate's court, the magistrate said, "Don't give me that nonsense about the Constitution. That's not allowed in my court."
That's because they're making assertions and they're not asking questions, therefore putting the presumption upon them. That's
They
the
won't
difference.
They won't deal with certain information like constitutional stuff and that in the magistrates. They handball it. That's for the High Courts or the Supreme. So
Yeah,
they'll just
that's
keep
right.
rolling you through
Yeah.
courts.
But by not objecting or not asking them to prove jurisdiction, they've actually accepted what the magistrate has said.
Yeah.
And they've made a terrible error there.
Yep, absolutely.
Alright, so the golden key here is how to use the word I object.
Well,
Well, the 2 forms would have done it.
you use it by their rules. If you look at the magistrates' court rules, conditional appearance is one of the specifications. You
What
can
does it
appear.
mean? What does
eh?
it mean, a conditional appearance?
When you appear under the terms of special appearance, the case cannot proceed until jurisdiction is established.
Yeah.
And any attempt by the prosecutor or the magistrate to proceed a case, and it's happened to me in my 30-odd cases, any attempt by the magistrate to proceed a matter puts them in criminal jurisdiction because they have attempted to...
Pervert the course of justice.
Thank you.
And becomes an abusive process.
It didn't
And
proceed anyway because he didn't enjoin with the name, he didn't go along with it, and it didn't get anywhere. That's the point I'm making. Let's move on.
Yep, okay.
That's a very basic
Send me
and
an
simple
I'd like
point.
to
I'll send you the notice.
clarify, understand.
Well, I'm going to get to that when everyone shuts
I've
up.
looked it up. I've looked it up in the dictionary, and it includes agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Anyway, what Tom said is correct. You don't link yourself to the legal name, then you can't be a legal person. You're just a man or woman. Now, this word here, another dirty word, understand. Alright, so what it really means, you think about it, you break up the word. This is very good. You break up words, so you syntax them, understand. So what it really means is to stand under something, alright? So if you say to the cops, yeah, I understand, when they say, do you understand? You say, yes. What you're really saying is, yes, I stand under your so-called authority, and boom, that's you, and that's their foot stepping on top of you. That's what it really means, right? So you don't want to be this little guy, this sucker down here, because all of a sudden you just wrap yourself into being a legal person. You just diminish your capacity as a man. What you're meant to do is not understand anything they say or do, right? So you want to stay as a man, and really, they're not acting as a man. They're acting as a either a corporate entity or used to be a public servant. And either way, the creation's a man, therefore they're below man. So if you're a man or woman, you stand in your own power, then they've got no power over you. Unfortunately, they're abusive, ignorant, rude, arrogant, ignorant. You know, and they'll try and handcuff you anyway, because they're
Why
pricks.
are you under handcuffing if they're just putting your bracelets onto you?
Yeah.
Just dress up.
Yeah. So you don't want to understand anything. Like, just think about this, right? If they're like, we're actually in a 2-story building, right? So if you think up there, you know, like, if you think it's safe to be sitting under this roof, you don't know if there's 1,000 elephants or what up there, right? You don't know how strong that roof is or what it's made out of, right? So how can you understand, you know, what's up there? You don't, because you don't know. You can't see it. You don't know what sort of foundation that it's all sitting on. Just like none of this has any foundation. It's all the matrix, right? So you better not assume to understand anything. If you hear people talking legalese, they're not speaking normal English, they're speaking legalese. They have all these silly ass words with different meanings, and they change all their bits and pieces, all their codes and acts all the time. So even if you know all the stuff inside out in legalities, it doesn't matter. It's unless you're a lawyer or a attorney or a judge or a magistrate or whatever, you're not part of that society. That's not your world. You don't belong there. So even if you know more than all of them put together, they can screw around and change the rules anytime they want because it's their bloody world. Their jurisdiction, meaning jurisdiction just means simply control, right? It's like you walk into someone's house, you're in their jurisdiction. You're under their control. You know, and they say what goes on in that house and what doesn't go on, right? So you go into the legal society, you know, guess what? It's a club and you ain't in it unless you join the bar association. And they're all a bunch of sheep anyway.
It's actually not a club, it's a guild.
Yeah, cult.
Jurisdiction.
Temple Bar, right? It's a religion.
Yeah, all these freaks up here.
Jurisdiction is a good word to...
All these freaks in the secret
Look at
society,
these
the
and
Illuminati, the
ones.
Skull and Crossbones Society, all them.
What did you say, Greg?
They started all this mess.
Jurisdiction. Juris, justice, diction.
Juris.
Talk.
Eh?
Jurisdiction, the right to talk. Juris, the law.
Right.
Talk law.
Right.
What is juris?
Jurisdiction.
What's the word juris mean?
Juris means law.
Is to talk.
The law.
Diction is speaking.
Yeah.
So basically they've spoken the law into being.
Yeah,
Their legal system, yeah.
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 And anybody that's interested, I can give them some of the research I've done about when these cartels, I've got to call them, began to formulate the system that is currently in play to put us into an enclosed environment so they can farm us.
Those bastards there.
Yeah, and you know, people, a guy I've followed for a number of years now, he's discovered that one of the principal You know, people have heard about the Great Fire of London 1666, which was then rebuilt by the Jesuits and gifted to the Roman Catholic.
They probably started the fire as well.
Yeah, they did. The Royal Crew approved it. But so that created the, what's it called again? The of London.
City of London.
City of London.
City of London, which is now not under the control of the UK government, given by the fact that the Queen can't walk in there unless she's walking 9 or 15 paces behind the Lord Mayor of the City of London. But it's all separate. But 1793, after 10 years of planning, a conference was held in Paris called the Patent Copyright.
Or
Sorry?
it's
Yeah, I'm getting to the fact that it now controls us.
Yeah, okay. What I'm interested in you talking about is how you deal with your situations and how you deal with the legalese.
Alright, yeah, I'm getting to that next. Alright. Very, very, very simple. I stopped being a legal person. I stopped being a person. I stopped being a citizen. I choose not to be any of that bullshit. It's all bullshit, right? I'm just a man. I'm just a man, that's all I am. Right? That puts me back on top of the pyramid. So you've also got to know how to stand as a man. You know, every single one in this room, like, every single one of us is a man or a woman, and we just need to remember how to stand in our own power once again and take control of our lives and be our authority and obey none other than the one above us. So,
Would you
When I-
describe yourself as religious or just spiritual?
the latter.
Does it matter?
The latter.
No, it doesn't matter, but
Yeah, the latter, yeah.
yeah.
Religion is another man-made device by these secret societies. It's actually separating people away from their creator, not bringing them closer.
The
And
etymology of religion means to hold back.
Yeah, relegate, yeah.
Relegare.
Yeah.
The bottom of my class here.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Relegare, so it means to hold back.
Yeah.
The same as the etymology from lean.
What's the word?
Religion.
No,
Relegare.
relegare.
Or legare. Is the Latin root.
Relegare.
Yeah.
Relegare.
That's the Latin root of religion.
Latin word for religion.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah. So,
To hold back.
also the Latin word,
Yeah.
Catholic is a Latin word, which
Yeah.
means universal. Just think about that for a moment.
Which means?
Universal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Catholic is a Latin word which means universal. That's why Catholic Church is trying to take over the whole bloody world. In other words, Catholic Church religion is Freemasonry in disguise, or under the guise of so-called respectful religion. Yeah, right. So anyway, full of scumbags. So there's nothing holy about
Etymology
it.
of scumbag, please.
I've got one.
Now this corporate entity, corporate, it's a corporation, so the government can do business with you if you're going to fall for it, right? And I used to fall for it all the time, so I didn't know better until I fucking woke up. So
Etymology of that word, please.
Old English.
Yeah, it is actually.
we're speaking Babel, don't worry. So
Fornicating using carnal knowledge.
well,
That's where apparently it came from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Order!
How did you stop being a legal person?
I just chose to. All right, you got to understand what,
did
it
you
means
do?
first.
Yeah, but
right?
what did you do?
Well,
How did you disconnect yourself from that?
Well, every time I see an envelope now with the legal person's legal name, which is also known as a straw man, it's in all capital letters. Now, this is just someone else, right? I'm not going to put my name in all capital letters, right? I want to stay in my realm. So anytime I see all capital letter names, I know exactly what it is. It's a legal representation of a fictional entity, and this is what buries people, and they have no idea. That's how they become slaves at the bottom of the pyramid. They know they're a man or woman, but they also think they're a person. They get words mixed up and confused, so words are very important. So what I've done is, every time there's an envelope with that all capital letter name, they don't know where I live, but when it goes to my postal address, I don't open the envelope anymore. I first have a look, you know, on the outside if I can figure out what it is, where it's come from. I'll get a light, a really bright shining light to shine through it,
Yeah.
and I have a look, and then I can see exactly who it's from.
Doesn't always work.
What's that?
Doesn't always work. The bright light, because sometimes they have that pattern on the inside. Makes it really difficult to read.
Well,
Can you tell
so
I've got it too?
so far every envelope I've put the light through, I can see it's you know, usually something that would be of no use to me. And I'm like, well, okay, it's the system. They want something, but they haven't sent it to me. They've sent it to this straw man, to this legal person with a legal name, all capital letters. So what I do is I get a pen, I write in the envelope. There's nobody at this address by that name, or that person does not live at this address. Keyword, person. Yeah, that person does not live at this address, not claimed, return to sender, and I pop it back in the Red Australia post box. So I do that I've done it probably 20 times now. You know, shit that I don't fucking want.
Can I contribute my experience for that? About 10 or so years ago, I got a rubber stamp made up. I went into the rubber stamp maker and I said, can I have one of those rubber stamps that's just like what they use at the post office, the little finger with the return to sender, the hand and all that. I said, but I don't want the little boxes which says why. And so that's what I do, and I haven't done it 20 times, I've probably done it 1,000 times.
Really?
Return to sender, return to sender, return to sender. And once I actually took a big shopping bag with about 2 or 3 years worth of government mail, stamped return to sender, I just dumped it in the city. I didn't hear from government departments for like a decade.
Go for it, Marina, do that!
So have you got a post
unclaimed
office
return
box?
to sender.
I did have one. I let it go. I have a GPO box at one point for
Yeah,
about a
okay.
decade.
Because
It says on the envelope, if not claimed,
Yeah.
return to.
Send it,
So
yeah.
that's just.
Oh,
you,
there
would,
you go.
would have to think
It's just-
that if you
Yeah,
could
if not
post
claimed.
If not claimed,
don't claim
that's
it.
that's still what you're doing is, yeah.
Okay.
Look, I received 20 today. I received 20 parking
Sorry, you're
fines
going to have to
today.
show me your little rubber
Wow.
thing.
parking fines. 20 parking fines today.
Work hard at parking at the wrong time.
Anyway, so they're ready to be posted. I can show you. They're already stamped.
But hang on, look at how they, as a system, regard the actions Thorne and others have been describing. Because in their statute law is that once they have notified by mail and a reasonable time, I can't remember where I read this, but it was somewhere in legislation, they deem to have served you with the required notice.
Yes, but there's two things
Yeah,
with that.
but you as a man are required to connect yourself to that legal person's name for it to be of any relevance to you.
Yeah,
Period.
that's one of my points.
And legislation.
There's 2 points. The reason why I do that is more sophisticated now than I used to do it. Before it was just like, fuck off, I couldn't be bothered dealing with it. But now there's a little more sophistication to it. One is because, well, originally it was because I wanted it to give the appearance that it hadn't been delivered. That's why I got the stamp that I did. Now, that's probably a more deceptive reason, and really it has been served. But there is a more sophisticated and subtle reason, and that's the one you made reference to, and that is I'm not accepting that that is me. I'm not creating that enjoinder. So therefore, I feel quite comfortable now, and even admitting to the fact that it might have arrived. I just like to give the appearance that it hasn't, because it saves me a lot of grief.
Gregory Arthur's been down that path quite extensively. At some point, you know, it would be interesting for you to come and talk here about your process.
I have heard also that if you accidentally do open the envelope and have a look inside and go, well, that looks like a bunch of bullshit, so I'm not interested, seal it up, open by accident, unclaimed, return to sender,
Mistake is the key word, mistake.
Yeah, mistake indeed.
open by mistake.
Yes.
Thank
Because
you.
that's another thing we've got to realise here too, if it's not already apparent to everybody, is that there's these magic words, incantations. Use the right word and magic happens. Use the wrong ones even if they appear to mean the same thing, and magic doesn't happen.
Yeah, words are like spells because you spell the word to make the word.
Catch you next time, Danny.
Yep.
So,
See you, Danny.
See how it goes.
Bye.
I've heard that in America some people have been registering their legal name. So they say, I own that name, it's not me, it's my possession.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, is that something that's done in Australia?
Well, I'm not too sure.
Heard
I've heard of this. I don't know how to do
Yeah.
it.
Well, they
I've-
said that
I've
kind
also-
of got them out of it because they said I've now stopped saying that's me, that's just something that's my possession.
I've heard that people can't do it
Yeah.
because by virtue of registration of birth that they have got every variant and they've claimed prior ownership, but I don't know.
Okay, I can update you on that. There's a thing came through recently on the Sescovay Facebook page, and two foundation members, so the people who know a bit, they put posts and I can direct you to them. It's a process of... No, I forgot. But there's stuff there to read and it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
The Scottish guy.
We were listening to somebody the other day, and he was in court, and it was all about the person. And he just pulls out the birth certificate and said, "Is this who you mean? Is this who you mean? You're going to erase this piece of paper?" And yeah, it just all
Yes.
Well, that's what
came to a
Craig
screaming
did.
halt, right?
That's what Craig did.
So the birth certificate is the biggest scam of all.
See, I use my...
It's a slavery bond. Get that through your heads. It's a slavery bond, that birth certificate. It's not you.
No, I think my birth certificate is not in capital letters because I'm not born in Australia. What's the situation then?
What country were you born?
Germany.
Germany.
no
1944,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
long time ago.
Yeah,
What
actually,
is-
the way the name's spelt doesn't really matter. I've found. They just, as long as you get convinced that you are that. When they say, "Are you
Heike.
Heike?"
Heike.
As long as you say, "Yes, I'm Heike," they'll go. So you got to understand, like, people get wrapped up about details, maritime law, all this garbage.
So why
That's
do we
not law.
focus so much on the capital letters then?
Yeah, look at how I've written my name here. Look at this.
Yeah, that's the point I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
Why do we focus so much onto the capital letters that
Because
this is
that's
the
not a registered variant, probably.
Okay, I can answer that.
It just goes along, you know, he's playing an act in the whole play as well. So by spelling it that way, I guess it's letting them know that he's not going to play the game in the normal way. But, you know.
Also, just choose another name.
Yeah.
You're
Rosemary.
gonna call
We'll call
it
you
a
Rosemary.
start as well.
Right, so you'll never find a name like this anywhere in the system, period. Right, there's no
You know
full
what?
columns.
In the system.
in the system.
Yes, you will. Sorry, guys. The facts are that
Richard drop tables.
the acts which define the correct spelling of
Richard
names
Dednall.
is in the Styles and Titles Act, and it specifies how English words are to be written. Any government entity who puts out a publication must use the rules of the Styles and Titles Act. Current one is 1953, I think.
That's
We're
73.
talking about
When have these authorities followed all the rules, man?
Yeah, the point I'm making is that when they break the rules, you can then use their own
Yeah,
rules
but
to
they
get
don't listen.
Oh, they
do
do.
it better than that. So, oh, you didn't do that properly. You didn't spell my name properly.
Yes, and
Don't
I
give
do
a
it
shit.
via
They
a
don't give a
BAP to the court.
They don't
Common
care.
law,
We're
yes.
talking about common law. We're not talking about legalese, alright?
Yeah.
All the statutes and codes and acts and legislations, I'll fucking piss on all of them. I don't give a fuck about them. Alright?
Quite right.
Yeah. So
Because they're all down here. I'm up here. Everyone should be up here.
what I want you to talk about your experiences. How have you dealt with the cops? What have been your experiences?
Alright,
That's
so-
what's going to let people here know
It's working.
what works and how it all played out.
All right.
Your interaction.
Well, the most famous incident was probably McDonald's at the end of last year, right?
Does the video camera go?
Yeah. McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's car park, right? At the end of last year. So I wasn't doing anything wrong, just so you know that. This is the second time I've been handcuffed. The first time I didn't really know what I was doing yet, but I was onto a little bit of something, and that's why they let me go. But the second time, I went into the McDonald's car park in my Land Cruiser, and at the time I had no number plates on it, and there were like a whole bunch of police cars and cops everywhere. They were already dealing with someone else there. I don't know what's going on, but this is after yeah, it's pretty late. It was probably getting towards midnight, and yeah, I've been outside the pub with my friends. I come pulled into McDonald's car park, and then they'd noticed me with no number plates, and they'd run over and like, oh, why you do this? Why you do this? You know, get out of the car, blah blah blah. And you know, I wasn't getting out. I wasn't following any orders or anything like that. But mind you, at the time, this is December last year, a few days before Christmas, and I still didn't know that much. You know, I was starting to learn about the Constitution, which is statutory, it's not common law, but I was only starting to know a little bit about common law as well, which is different again. So I was, and just remember, law is not legal. You know, it's different. It's opposite laws. One's a fact, one's fiction. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I know a lot more now, but at the time, you know, they 6 of them ganged up on me. They dragged me out the car, you know, threw handcuffs on me. They struggled to do it too. I was putting up quite a fight. It took them a while. I wasn't swinging, but you know, I was dying a mighty hard time with me. But they finally got the handcuffs on behind my back, and then they stole the wallet because they were demanding for a name. That's the first question that a Nazi will always ask you: "What's your name?" You know,
Papers, please.
with a name.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, with a name, they can drag you into their jurisdiction, which means control, and you know, basically make you the slave at the bottom of the pyramid. You know, here they are. But you know, man,
So
up
what,
here.
what do you say then to the police? What did you
Get the
say
fuck
then?
off me.
Yeah, I said, get the fuck off me. Exactly.
That's a good start.
I said, get the fuck off me.
I'm going to charge you with rape.
And I said, this is my.
Hang on, why wouldn't you have asked him a question?
Well, I didn't know that much back then.
Okay, all right.
But I
Now, what question would you
Hang on,
ask?
just
Because
let him tell the
let him
story.
I didn't. I was.
So they get the cuffs on.
I was
What's
too.
your name?
I was too.
Hammered up.
I was too revved up to be asking them questions. You know, I was pretty revved up. I was like, get the fuck off me. This is my fucking property. I'll do what I fucking want with it. But it's true. But I didn't know enough about being a man, right? But I did all right that night, considering my lack of knowledge. And you know,
How did they respond?
Let's throw in a divvy band.
so when I said, you know, this is my private property, I'm travelling, you know, without causing any harm, injury or loss to anyone else, you know, and you know, they then one of them goes, oh, but you're robbing Vic Roads because you haven't paid your registration. I said, please, I'm not talking about a stupid government corporation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my fellow man. I haven't done any wrong. I haven't caused any damage to, you know, anyone's property. And you know, this is my property, and you've got no rights to be telling me what to do with it. But you know, it's 6 against 1 with handcuffed me, and then they stole my wallet off the front seat. And at the time, I was still carrying all the cards that I was still carrying them because I was still not prepared back then, and I'm getting better now though. But they found all the you know, Medicare card, a driver's license, you know, the forklift license, the bank card, all this stuff. I say that. I don't say my because it's all capital letter names, and that's not me. I used to think it was, but then we all. So yeah, basically, when they pulled her out, she's like, aha, look what I found here, you know, and it was this one here, but it was loaded up with all the cards, and you know, like with all this identification, but identification must never be confused with identity. And oh look, you know, Mr. Nicholas, I said straight away. I said, that's not me. That's not me. No, I'm not that person. That's not my name. That's not my license. I've never owned a license. It's true.
It's
You
true.
know? And when you
Because they
say,
own it. They even say that on the back of the card that it remains their possession.
That's right.
So you're absolutely correct.
yeah, and then they said, well, that's a photo of you, isn't it? No, that's not me. I'm not a piece of plastic or a photograph. And, you know, I don't give a shit about lying to a bunch of parasites, do I? So, yeah.
Well, what I got out of that is you made a definition between what
Legal
that
person.
the identification is and what you are.
Yeah.
I'm not that.
Yeah.
That's key.
But then what happened?
Having a look.
Oh, they didn't know what to do, so they dragged me
I'll say
to the paddy wagon,
Yeah.
threw me in the back of the paddy wagon, locked the door, but the handcuffs still on.
that's the worst.
Carry licence when driving, there you go.
That doesn't
What's
say
it say?
that'll remain the problem.
Carry licence when driving, so
Define-
never have it when you're in car.
Define driving as opposed to travelling.
Well, that's the thing, right?
I said travelling.
I'm not travelling. I am not trafficking anything,
Yeah.
right?
I said to him, I'm travelling in my property from point A to point B, not causing any harm, not doing any wrong, you know, and I didn't say I was driving a vehicle, because that's all legalese. It's a bad language, you know. They use legalese to try and screw you out of your rights, and stop you from being a man. That's their mission. They want to stop you from being... They don't want you to be a man or a woman. They want you to be a person. They want you to believe in your birth certificate, because it's a slavery bond, and that's how they get corporate revenue raising out of everyone. Well,
So
not
they,
everyone.
they pull out your driver's licence and say, aha,
Which you're,
gotcha, you bastard, right?
But, you know, like, they stole the wallet off my front seat.
you're correct in saying that it's theft because, well, I'm paraphrasing.
Well, I
it's
said to
stealing
him,
because-
oi, that's mine, when they grabbed this. That's
Because
mine.
by
Don't
right,
take-
what they're supposed to do is they are supposed to ask for permission to go through your personal effects.
Yeah, they didn't ask me permission. They were aggressive. Just remember that, you know, I don't write this for nothing. You know, they are Nazis, right? They're fucking parasites. They're working for these bastards who are working for these bastards, right? And you know, it's all about corporate revenue raising for the fucking cabal, right? And but they think, you know, that they think they're the law. They don't know shit. They don't realise that's the law. And legalese is, you know, this legal system is not law at all. And that's why you hear about legislations, codes, acts, and statutes. It doesn't say law.
Yeah, but I feel like police wouldn't know any of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're ignorant,
They
right?
are
So these bastards are ignorant,
Yeah.
arrogant, abusive, rude, dumb as dog shit. You name it, right? So they threw me in the back of the paddy wagon. And, you know, and as they were doing so, dragged me over, you know, 6 against 1, handcuffed, and they're saying all the threats you could throw at me on an incident like that, like, we're gonna take you to Bullbark Police Station, and we're gonna interrogate you down there. We're gonna lock you in the cells down there overnight, and we're gonna take you to court in the morning, put you in front of a magistrate, and we're gonna confiscate your car, and we're gonna crush it. And, you know, all that stuff. And we're going to make you pay heaps and heaps and heaps of fines and all that sort of bullshit. All those threats, right?
Note, these are the threats. This is the gorilla.
Hang on,
Hang on.
hang on. These are the offers.
Well, yeah, they're kind. Well, but they're not real offers. So this is what I call.
And you
Just let me speak. This is what I call the 800-pound gorilla, and it's big on threats.
Well,
So you
hang
can
on.
expect it.
I've had 30, 40 cops in the 8 years I've been dealing with my attitude. Every one of them has been as courteous as.
Cool. That's because you were belligerent.
Meaning,
Yes. No, not you.
belligerent.
Belligerent. Yeah. The cops can easily deal with somebody who's being belligerent. It's like, you use force, they'll use force,
Yes.
alright.
No,
That's the cops are quite happy to deal with somebody who's belligerent. They're also quite happy to deal with somebody who's obsequious and compliant. What they have difficulty with is somebody who's peaceable and articulate.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but, you know, I never actually, you know,
No,
went
but
to
you were
attack them.
struggling.
Yeah, I don't want them touching my property. This is my property. My body, my
Anyway,
property.
this is how you handle it.
Yep,
Go on
that's
with the
right.
story.
I'm a
Yep.
spirit.
So they're coming at you.
It's
They're coming at with all
Sorry,
the threats.
Yeah, the big
Threats and offers.
Big threat.
Threats and offers, yep.
Yeah, so after all those threats, I told you all the threats that they said. They said all those things and then some, right? So they're saying they're actually going to take me away. So we didn't actually leave, right? So inside the back of the paddy wagon, there's a little fucking window, and I'm calling out, don't even think about giving me a fine because you'd be breaking the law. At the time I was, you know, still caught up in the constitutional stuff. I was learning from Know Your Rights, but once again, that's different to common law. So I was juggling constitution and common law as being a man at the same time. But, you know, on the night, what I did worked, and then she goes, well, I can't give you a fine because, she goes, when I said, don't even think about giving me a fine, you'd be breaking the law, she goes, well, I'm not going to. And I said, oh, really? You know? She goes, yeah, because you haven't given us a legal name. And she
Nice.
Really?
yeah, I'm calling out through the little window, she's outside there, and they're all like talking amongst themselves and on the radio, trying to figure out what to do. I'm a hard case, I don't know what to do with me. Because I haven't crawled on my knees and been obedient, you know. And I haven't identified myself. You know, I just said I'm a man travelling in my property. And they don't understand, that's how ignorant they are, as you mentioned, right? So, she goes, well, I can't give you a fine because you haven't given us a legal name.
Even though they've seen your driver's
Yeah.
license.
Because I said, that's not me.
Yeah.
It's a verbal contract. As soon as you say, yep, that's me. Yep.
So they did know that much, though, didn't they?
Yeah, that's their procedures.
You can come in and check it out if you want.
Yes.
Hello.
The whole group looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Take a seat.
There's a seat for you here.
Did Daddy leave his phone?
You'll be in trouble.
No, Daddy's?
Yeah, I'd better ring him.
No, you.
Have you got his home number? Does he have
What's his name?
No, it is his number.
Hey, no, I've got his phone number.
Yeah, but if you ring his phone, then you'll know that is his.
Yeah, that's true.
Ring his home.
I'll ring Carl.
Moving on.
That's
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
anyway.
we're
Anyway.
anyway. So at least they knew about
That's
the name.
fantastic. That's
Yeah. So it's not like they're completely lacking in knowledge about this.
No,
because they
I
want
know.
the name, right?
I'm sure they get taught that they need someone to say their name. That's why every time, first question, what's your name? What's your name?
This
What's
is
your
Yeah.
what I
name?
saw in the court the other day.
Yeah.
The
So what
judge,
do you say?
they had all his information. They've got all our information.
Yeah, they just need
They
you to
need
confirm it.
to be
To
convinced.
confirm it.
You go first. What's your name?
Yeah,
They'll
right.
give you that. They won't even give you that. You've got to go. You've got to say,
Hey,
I'm a man.
Nicholas should have the floor, folks.
Yes.
Nicholas should have the
You can
floor.
call me Tom. What's your name?
Ladies and
Tom.
gentlemen.
Yep.
Ladies and
The
gentlemen.
judge, with the judge, I'll be saying,
Yeah.
they'll say, are you Thomas McKenzie? I'll be saying,
Ladies and gentlemen.
Order.
Because then everybody can hear what you're saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Gregory Alpha.
we're talking about law stuff. Law.
L-O-R-E or L-A-W?
Both.
Ah,
Great question.
Brilliant mind. Sweet. Brilliant minds think alike. So, good point. I forgot to write that. So, where was I?
So you didn't get issued a fine?
So you're in the paddy wagon.
You're in a paddy wagon in handcuffs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Looks
It's
bad.
the worst.
Yelling out the
And he's
window.
at Macca's.
Yeah,
right.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. So after that, look, I wouldn't shut up. I was like, let me the fuck out here and all that sort of business. And, like you're all off your you're all off your dolls. You don't know what you're doing, and I can take you all to court and file a claim against you for trespassing on my property and doing me wrong and abusing me and kidnap and but then when we use words like kidnap, assault, that's all legalese, unfortunately. So I didn't know, like I said, at the end of last year, I didn't know that much.
No, it isn't. It isn't legalese. It's within the criminal code, which is common law.
Which common law?
Kidnap and assault are criminal actions. They are outside of legislative.
Yeah, they do incur a prison.
So,
Because they do incur a custodial sentence. So.
But if it appears
yeah,
in
but
an act,
there
it's a
there are
statute.
aspects
right?
of criminal law.
But if it appears in the criminal acts, then it's a statute.
Exactly. How is that possibly
That's right,
common law?
yeah.
Common law
Because-
has nothing to do with any statute.
Common law is torts, basically.
Common law is unwritten.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We're not talking about the statutory common law that came from Magna Carta in 1300 or whatever the hell it was, and that 1903 Common Law Act or whatever.
The
We're
common
talking
law where
about-
you need a victim and there's harm being done.
Pardon me?
The common law where there's a victim, there needs to be a victim and there needs to have been harm done.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There needs to
Something
be...
what you're talking about is natural law.
yeah.
Yeah,
See, I think
natural unwritten common law. So as I said before, like this is very, very important. This is so important here because man, both masculine and feminine, bound by law, right? So all the facts of nature, right? Laws of physics, whatever. Now, law of attraction, which includes karma, plays a huge part in this. Because we actually know, most of us know in our hearts when we're doing right or wrong. And if, for those who are doing the wrong thing by others deliberately, bad karma will come to bite them, or they deserve to be punished, and they can and will be punished if they're captured. You know, this is why a common law court, you can actually have your own court, and have a jury of your peers, you know, your fellow man.
I thought I'd put my hand up for a change. Instead of just jumping in like everybody. I think you're missing a jurisdiction here too, because you're making reference to the slave, straw man, the citizen, right? And you're also making reference implicitly to de jure et natural, you know, the flesh and blood human. There's an intermediate jurisdiction which is the subject of the crown.
Constitutional.
Yeah. So that also affords additional protections, but it also arguably is not as powerful. But I think that sometimes, this is my way of looking at it, is that one has to be pragmatic and choose the jurisdiction as it suits, because it may be sufficient just to be a subject and not to be the jure et natural. Just in order to get the end result which you need. It depends on how you wish to approach it, and this is the thing with the law, is that there are many different ways to cut that.
Yeah, it's like you said, you can use the Constitution to get some cash out of those bastards in Parliament, right? Section 44 or whatever, right?
May I speak
But
at some stage?
Yeah.
Right. This is what I've been observing as an artist and someone that's pretty psychic. If I look down, it's because I could be channeling from time to time, my voice will change.
You've got to speak up, I'm deaf.
We're so compatible. The laws of men have been ideally created by men for men, because the way that things were functioning in the beginning of time was more structure needed for society to then function in a way that's not going to be killing one another, and we've evolved. Now, what's happening in the concrete world? This is not coming from a feminist point or none of it. It's coming from observation. As a female form, or as an alpha female, some of my friends and associates would call me, whatever perspective that people have. When there's a law being put down, I've been to law school for 6 months, first semester. So I've got a sense of where the law comes from. It's always reference to what had happened in the past, how we've dealt with that. So that's what law is in general. This is what's happened, we're referring back, it's always reference. I've dated a criminal defense lawyer before in Sydney, so I've got the balance of the spiritual world and the concrete world, so that's where I'm speaking from as well. Now, observing the females that I care for and will be caring for, I'm creating this initiative called People Assisting People to get the girls off the streets. What I've sensed, not everyone, generally we are all going, surviving, doing things, putting things in order. This is what humans do. But there are people who haven't got a clue as to what's happening. There must be ideally a law to protect them, not as victims, but those who are left behind in a lot of ways. Because what's perspective to a man, not in a gender form, what's a perspective to one person, let's put it more neutral, a lot of times is completely different from what's actually the female or another person is experiencing. So I like to ask or openly discuss, in this man-made law, how do we go about then standing up for the ones who have their own perspective on why they've done something? It could be from emotional immaturity, it could be from the environment they've grown up in, cultural. Because a lot of times what I've observed, coming from a non-Australian upbringing and stuff like that, and being worldly traveled, and speaking to a lot of people, even me when I speak to someone in the concrete world in the city, what I have to say, like how I speak now, is completely taken in a different perspective. But because the law said I can't say this and stuff, then where's my right as a female or as another human that I don't come from this sort of law that, so do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one umbrella should not fit everyone. And there is a law for another law. This is the man's law. And then we've got spiritual law, which is karma. And I've been told by the higher realm, through a lady that did channeling in Sydney, that to take it easy on karma, because karma is basically the energy that we put into. We pay it forward, or we pay for it, not exactly in the same form, but in different forms. What we feel towards what we've done to another being comes back in a different form. So it's not so much tic tac, tac for tac. Not in that way, the way that we've learned to understand. So they have told us to take it easy when it comes to karma. That's all I'm sharing. I should really stop now. But thank you. I hope that wasn't as freaky as I tend to sound sometimes. But
So,
Not here especially.
thank you.
so
I'm getting more stronger with what I'm born with.
Please,
I've
come in.
evolved to a stage where it's come to a point in my life I no longer will be quiet from all that I've observed, because my purpose here is to assist humanity to evolve forward without having to hurt one another, especially the females. And it's not coming from a feminist point or nothing like that. It's just being a big sister. It's coming from that space.
yeah, a real man is a woman's best friend, and
I like that saying. So tell me.
so what you're talking about is you're speaking about this. You're also making reference to this as well, and this is what we don't want. So these so-called laws created by man, they're not laws. It's just legalese. This is the law up here, is what you're saying. You know, common law. It's also linked to karma, which is part of
Does
it.
the parliament have people, I don't know, that's why I'm asking, I'm not being smart ass about this, but does the parliament have groups of people who come from a spiritual, not the Greens, those are pretty spiritual people, but
Anything
They're all brain dead.
atheists.
All politicians, all brain dead.
No, they're smart in a certain kind of way.
Smart
It
legalese.
goes back to what persons mean.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Never use the word
persona,
person, right?
which is the
So-
persona or
so
the
you as a
mask
woman-
and the act.
It's just a woman, or at the top of the pyramid. Stop being a person, because they're at the bottom, right? Person is a legal entity with all capital letter name, like on a driver's license.
So we're spirits having human experiences in female or male form, some of us are both.
Yeah, right, so we're a spirit inside of our
What's that
body.
word?
Gender fluid.
Yes.
Right.
Non-binary.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so,
Keep going then.
so where was I? I was in the back of the paddy wagon, right?
You're in the back of the paddy wagon. Woo!
Yeah, so
Here we go.
as soon as she goes,
She meaning a police officer.
yeah. Hey, here, I'll tell you. This woman acting in the lesser capacity of a police member. Yeah, she's a Nazi.
So
That's what she's
Constable.
been thought to think.
Allegedly.
So Direct translations here.
Because she has to be a constable.
It's saying no.
Yeah, but I
Constables.
don't recognise their ranks. I'm just a man.
No, but constables.
No understanding.
If you get confronted by a police officer, it needs to be you can ask, like what's your rank or whatever. I need a constable here because a constable is under the common law because they swear an oath to keep the order.
You know how
To
many
keep
cops
peace
I've
and
asked?
order.
I've asked at least half a dozen cops, where's your oath of office? And they haven't been able to show it, they refuse to, or they don't know it, or they think they haven't got one. It's a big, big mess. It's a corporation. Victoria Police has an ABN. How the fuck can you let how the fuck can we let a corporation or someone who works for a corporation tell us what to do and we don't work for them?
How can we
It's a
please
club
let
and
that
we
one
ain't in
happen?
it. You know?
Yeah, I know, I'm desperate to
They
know.
don't let a
Yeah.
silly piece of paper tell us what to do.
Hang on, we're all sitting on the...
Yeah.
We're all in the paddy wagon at the moment.
This is why I said to her, don't even think about giving me a fine. Well, I'm not going to give you a fine because you didn't give us a legal name after they'd seen all this. And I said, no, it's not me. And then I just had a little light bulb flick on, like, doink. Wow, she just admitted. She admitted that she needs a legal name out of my mouth verbally, which is a verbal contract. Unwritten
And what
contract.
happened next?
Oh, what happened next?
Come on!
Right?
Did it all go quiet?
And then she admitted it. And then shortly afterwards, I said, hurry up, let me the fuck out of here. And she's like, oh, but we're not sure if that's safe to do so. I said, what the hell not? And she's like, oh, we think you might be on drugs. I said, I don't take no drugs. Hurry up and drug test me, so get the fuck out of here. And she goes, well, I can't drug test you because you haven't given us a legal name. that was the frustration in her voice. And like, doink, 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 doink. Yes,
Brilliant.
I know all about this now, that they need a verbal agreement.
Yeah.
You know, that this didn't mean shit because I said it's not me. Anyway, I don't carry any ID now.
So hang on, do
That's
you
my
know
money.
this? Have you got a record of
It's
this
pure
officer? Have you got a record of this officer's name?
Record, well, I had it written down. Elizabeth Davies, I think her name. All the others, I got it written down.
The whole thing.
Excellent.
I think I've seen this all.
PAP's going her way.
Oh, it's-
What?
A PAP's going her way.
What's that?
I'll tell you later.
Probably one of those.
Anyway,
I'll take this.
I need it back.
Yeah, the
What
one
is
that
it?
announced this.
It's my money.
Yeah, yeah.
oh, you're investing in silver, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's about 15 bucks, or 15 is one.
Okay,
Oh,
so
Australian 20.
so they let you go and you drove off in your Hilux without plates on.
No, Land Cruiser.
Whatever.
Don't
Without-
insult Land Cruiser.
Without banners on it.
Alright,
So, I can't drug
No,
test
they're
you
not
because you haven't
number plates,
given me
they're
a name.
badges.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
after all the threats,
Yes, after all the threats.
there's no number plates on it. No.
Okay, there is now, it says exiled.
Exiled.
Yeah. and
He's
my
got
law-
exiled
And my
on
law, the other one's my law, LORE. Remember
his...
that?
Whatever.
Oh, the you?
But they let you alone to happily travel.
Yeah. They said, after all this going nowhere, going in circles, and after all the threats, didn't go through the threats, that I told you this before, right? I told you about all their list of threats, blah, 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 and, they didn't take me anywhere, like they said, and then they eventually opened the door, and he said, well, let me go now. And then they took the handcuffs off, and one of the others said, look, we know you're not going to talk about this or answer any questions, so, just, be on your way now, and you're not going to, get anything, in the mail or anything like that.
Sorry very much, sir.
They
Do you know their name?
Huh?
We've got to follow this up, okay?
Anyway, but just remember, at the end of last year, I didn't know much.
But that's amazing.
So,
You stuck to it and they let you go.
Yeah.
so
After
they need
saying
you.
we're going to take you away, we're going to
Crush your car.
So they need
Eventually
your
they're
name
saying
to
sorry.
drug test you, but they don't to breathalyze.
But I was very adamant by saying I don't have a name and I've never had a license. Right? Which is very true. If you think about it, how the hell can a man have a license? Doesn't make sense.
So nowadays, if you're travelling in your conveyance
Yeah.
and there's a...
What's that word conveyance mean exactly?
It's just what conveys you along the street. It's just an object,
Another name,
right?
yeah.
Moves,
It's a motor vehicle. It's a motor
It's
car.
another name
Motor
for a
car.
vehicle.
It's a motor car.
It's like a
I-
vehicle.
You know what
Call
I...
myself.
Hey,
But I'm just asking. Do you know? Because sometimes you just get along to get along. So if the booze bus is there and you haven't had a drink, you just blow in the butt in the thing and.
Look, I haven't
keep
come
going.
across a booze bus this year, but
What?
if
What?
I do,
All right. Here's,
What would you do if
yeah,
Here
if
you
I
go.
was, if I
Even
was
serve
driving through a
loans
booze
there.
bus, if I was driving through it, if I'm physically able to safely, I'll keep going.
They call us the woo-woo people. Spiritual people to them are the woo-woo.
What's that?
They call us the woo-woo people.
I can't hear you.
the woo-woo people?
woo-woo people.
She's saying spiritual people are called woo-woo people.
They call us the woo-woo.
Sometimes.
Woo-woo people.
I like it.
You're just a bit
Like I
woo-woo.
was saying before, they're ignorant, they're arrogant, they're
They just, they probably haven't evolved in their spirit. They need to go through lots of disaster to then
Yeah.
realize there's more to life than.
yeah, it's their ignorance and their arrogance.
I mean, some of us were there, were like that before.
Bullshit, that's fine.
So,
Parasites.
But
So
see it
Nicholas-
differently. See it as an expression of spirit, an
Yeah,
opportunity to learn.
yeah.
so Nicholas, are you happy to sit with your exiled or my law car, means of conveyance out the front, with me sitting in my Forester or whatever the other cars I've got?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the latest?
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Bluey. Are you happy to sit out the front and we'll get the cops from Belgo down and see what happens?
What, now?
Well, at some point. No, I don't want to do it at night time. I want to do it at a time when I've got two camera operators.
No,
Sorry.
you're not going to do it here.
No, I'm gonna
Do it
do
some
it
other
somewhere.
suburb.
The man has spoken in his property, this is his
I don't do
jurisdiction,
my life.
it's his control.
But the
Well,
thing is,
there's some
I want
PSOs outside. We've got a camera. Let's do it.
I want it on film, and I've got two camera
I
operators.
really want to hang it on.
Eh?
Yes, I'll. Like want to fight them in the courts. You know, like bloody, just get them out of your life, then it's okay.
See, I think there's roughly two ways that people address this issue of being a law activist. I think one is to use it as some kind of a weapon and to be aggressive with it.
Or to know
Whereas-
how to defend yourself.
Or to
To
defend.
know
Yeah,
how to defend.
but yeah.
I'm saying that's how it should be used, just
I
to
need
know
to
how
get
to
to my-
defend
I
yourself.
need to
Yeah.
get
The distinction I was going to make rather is to see the law as a way to keep the peace. Now, if you come from that perspective,
Well, common law is peace, mate.
Yeah.
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 Legalese ain't peace.
Well,
do you disagree?
tell that to the cops that have taken two cars and a
You just
motorbike.
don't need that.
You should, you
You
gotta
just
hold on
don't
to your
really
property.
need it in your life.
You didn't call it
You
property.
cannot
need
hold on
law
to your
to
property
have
when
peace.
you've got 6 cops in 3 police cars ringing up a tow
Ideally
truck to
not.
get your vehicle
Yeah.
towed.
I held on to my property
Humanity
4
needs
times
that.
when I was handcuffed.
Okay.
Okay.
4 times.
I'll go with that.
Which is maybe where
Where are
we? Yeah. Right now.
Alright, there was another threat a couple of months ago outside Coles where someone ratted me out for no plates. That was on another car of mine.
What did they do?
Who?
What happened?
We don't know.
Ratted you out.
Yeah, someone, I don't know, somebody, I
Someone
don't
called
know
the
who,
cops.
somebody rang him up, this guy's got no plates, he should be a slave like us, come and get him.
Yeah, that's right.
So, they come along, like, oh, someone rang us up, I'm like, look, I'm just here minding my own business, just get the fuck out of here, And then they, what's your name? I'm like, I don't have a name to give you, and then all this shit, and then 4 against 1, and all showed up, they handcuffed me, threw me in the paddy wagon, we're gonna confiscate your car. They didn't take my car. They did take my keys because they couldn't think of anything else to do, and no matter how much I said I required my property back and my keys, they took off with them. So I went and got back there to the police station. I said, look, they're mine, and they wouldn't release it. So I got one of the keys off them, which was for another car, and saying it's for my property. And then I took a photo of the other key, and then had a locksmith just because I didn't. My spare key I lost, fell out of my pocket one day, and then the locksmith just looked at the photo and cut the key from that. It worked, so yeah.
So the cops have still got that key?
Yeah,
Gosh.
yeah, but so what? They don't know what the car is.
That's not the point. The point is they
They've stolen.
They stole from you.
Yeah, they stole from me. So me and my friend are writing a claim. We're
Yeah.
working on
Whoa,
a claim.
talk about that, please.
And
You
a
and your
bill.
friend are writing a claim
Yeah, and a bill as well.
and a bill. Okay.
Yeah.
Will it be called? Hang on. Let me think.
IMAN required the immediate restoration of my property. See
Okay.
picture.
And
Return,
who-
restore
and who-
property now.
Who will that be directed to? The police officer? or a police?
Yeah, the one who was telling the others, the one who was there, doing most of the talking. his name-
Hang on.
So you get their
Will-
name at the
Yeah.
time?
Will it be directed to a police officer or a man?
The man acting in the lesser capacity of a police officer. Because the creation man was under man. So instead of
He's only a police officer.
I'm going to hold him accountable. I'm going to
He's
hold
only
him
a
liable.
police
for
officer when
stopping
he's
my property.
What wrong did you
acting
do?
within the law.
What?
He's only
Yeah,
a police
I-
officer when he's acting within the law, and therefore,
Yeah,
Well,
correct,
people are
correct.
by saying that it is your correspondence is presented to the legal person, that's not the active person in that situation if you're acting outside the law.
Right. I didn't give him a legal name that time either.
Now I'm talking about him, the person that's stolen your property.
Yeah, no problem.
Stealing is not part of being a policeman. Okay, so there's no policeman.
So he's acted
So
outside.
you have to direct it to the man.
Yes.
He's broken common law by stealing another man's property, and I'll hold him liable as a man.
Okay, how will you hold him liable?
Well, we're writing a claim to
Yes,
restore the property.
yes.
Failure to do so results in what?
Yeah, we'll have to take him to court.
Also put a time
Whoa,
limit on it.
whoa, hang on,
Oh,
you're gonna
that's-
take them, you're gonna take that man into a court with the jurisdiction to do what?
To hold my own court in common law, and I still am trying to figure out exactly how to do
Well, you need a grand jury.
Hang on. There's something called negotiation.
Yeah.
it. I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Of course, there's negotiation that has to happen. Part of that is to present your affidavit to them, and if they don't rebut it,
I don't know about
that
affidavits,
is the
but
law.
a simple 2 or 3
That is
sentence
the law.
claim.
It's done.
It's the private
Now,
process.
what's a claim?
Hang
Claim.
on, Paul, isn't the private process?
It is, but I don't think he understands
To
it.
get the courts,
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, just quickly, a claim is, a man making a claim, like for the return of his property. It's that simple. I, man, require the immediate restoration of my property in
You
CP.
can't define a word using the same word. You can't say a claim is something making a claim. You have to define a word with other words.
Have you
So-
seen a lawyer?
Sorry?
I'm sorry.
So what is your claim? What jurisdiction is your claim based within?
Well, he's
Common
just
law.
working it out.
Common law.
He's just working it out, that
Okay.
part.
All right.
Common law.
Okay.
But I don't know how to. I haven't figured out how to hold my own court. I've never done it, so I'm just trying to.
Well, I
You
can
need
tell
to listen to
use
the
a
podcast.
PhD.
The guy in Scotland has done exactly this.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes,
listen
you
in
need to
France.
listen to a podcast.
Yes.
well, that's exactly what Darryl O'Brien talked about for 3 hours here a few weeks ago.
So there's a specific podcast of a guy that did this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to
Yep.
There is something really important you guys need to know. Everyone needs to know this, right? See, I was let go all those times, 4 times with my property, and they pissed off, left me alone finally. Even after all that, physical trouble and all that, it's because I never engaged in any legalese. I didn't speak legalese. I didn't use legal words. I didn't understand or stand under their foot. I stepped on their fucking foot, right? So I don't use this name. I don't connect myself to it. And once I was in a police station and they wanted my name, and I said, look, how about you write it down? Because they were saying, we'll let you go. And then it starts with a full column. He didn't even want to write it. He knew that, he can't get any, anything over me like that, right? This just means it's a fact, right? Put the full column. There's no legal name that looks like that. It's impossible. They're always like that, all uppercase, right? So everyone needs to stop speaking legalese. Stop referencing codes, statutes, acts, legislations. They're not law. They're just creations of man. Therefore, they're below man by a long shot. Stop using that word person. Get out your vocabulary. Be careful with that word understand. Be very careful how you use it. Like I said, you don't know what's up in the roof, so don't assume you understand anything, even if you hear the words and you think you understand them. Because these people,
And what's
they talk shit.
replacement word
I use
to
comprehend.
understand? Comprehend.
Comprehend.
Because I would like to take notes so I can do some brain exercises on what not to use.
Yeah. So, if you really do understand something and you want to understand something, okay. But, you know, when the government or the police say, if you understand, you better not understand. And you better not understand, you better not assume to think you understand anything they're saying, and stop using legalese, because I'll tell you what, like almost everyone, let's say 99.5% of the population has got all that legal shit jammed so far up their ass they can't get it out. You know, they don't know how to be a man.
They need a colonic.
Yeah, right. So no one needs to use this shit. All right, this legal society is a scam. It started with a birth certificate, right? So everyone doesn't know how to be a man or a woman, right? It's this simple. You know, this is where you are in the highest possible authority on the planet. And everyone being a man is equal to you, or a woman, right? All of these cretins are below you.